What's up, everybody? Good morning, happy Thursday. And Thursday means it's time for Pass Coverage Thursday, where we try to look at how various Seahawks players are doing individually in pass coverage. So, before I get into the numbers here, I wanted to let everybody know that tonight I will be doing the Hawks Nest stream for the Cardinals pregame. Going to be on my channel and his channel, so go wherever you want to go. But try to tune in. Going to be about 8 o'clock. We're going to preview this Cardinals game, talk about what needs to be talked about, discuss what needs to be discussed, and hopefully gear everybody up for a big win to move the team to 4-2. All right. So, pass coverage Thursday is a go. We're going to start with the linebackers like we always do. And there are a couple different perspectives to look at this from, I think, because basically the story remains the same here. Bobby Wagner got targeted 4 times, gave up 4 completions, but it was only for, let me make sure I get this right here, 28 yards. So he's giving up a very high percentage of his targets, literally 15 of 16, but the plays aren't really getting that far downfield. That's 16 targets, 150 yards. That's less than 10 yards per target allowed. So it's not great, obviously. QB rating allowed is 105.7, but this is different than in some previous seasons when Wagner was a coverage liability. I think that when you try to put all this together, you're trying to really understand contextually how is Wagner doing in coverage. He's getting targeted an average of about 3 times a game. He's giving up 3 completions a game, and those 3 completions are going for about 30 yards total. So that's not really something that's going to lose you the game, even if it's not necessarily something that you're super proud of, right? And Wagner, his situation is very different from a couple years ago when he was here. A couple years ago, he was making some of the most money of any linebacker in the league, so there was an expectation that he would be elite in all areas. That's not the case anymore. He's here to stop the run first and foremost, and he's also valuable as a pass rusher. So the fact that he's not killing us with his coverage is good enough. And Jordan Brooks, similar boat. I think he got targeted 3 times in this game, and he gave up completions on all 3 targets, but those plays didn't really go much of anywhere. It was 23 yards, and overall on this season, he's been targeted 20 times for 107 yards, barely over 5 yards per target. And despite the completion percentage, look at the QB rating allowed, literally 89. Pretty good. So, the one criticism that you might be able to make here, the one issue, if you're trying to find an issue, because overall this is phenomenal. We are more than a fourth of the way through the season, and our 2 starting linebackers have allowed collectively 250 coverage yards. So those 2 guys combined are on pace to allow less than 1,000 coverage yards, which is awesome, especially when you consider Wagner's age and the fact that Brooks is not, well, okay, let's just say it. He's been terrible in coverage most of his career. So this stuff is pretty awesome. The issue would be a lot of these completions do go for first downs because quite often teams find themselves in those 3rd and short situations, and the short completion that Wagner and Brooks gives up, while it's not killing you, it is allowing the offense to stay on the field. But when you look at how good this secondary is going to be for the rest of the season, assuming health, teams are going to have a really hard time targeting those guys. They're going to have to go somewhere, and the linebackers are just going to be the only place they can go. So while they are going to give up some stuff, they are going to give up a decent number of yards per game. Right now it's about 50 per game on average. It's not something that's going to be the thing that loses you the game, right? Like, this is 2023. You're not going to hold every team to 50 yards passing a game. They're going to get their yards somewhere, and they're going to be hard-pressed to do it against your secondary, so the linebackers are going to start giving up more. But at this point, I don't really view it as a problem. So, cool stuff here still. I'm still pretty up on this. Edge rushers, Derek Hall was the only new addition here. He gave up a catch for 8 yards, 7 of it yards after the catch. So, welcome to the chart, Derek Hall. And that's it for the edge rushers. So, those are your linebackers. Now let's jump over to the cornerbacks and see what's up. This is where the fun begins, to a certain extent. right? Like, I don't know how much fun Tariq Woolen had in this game. He got targeted 8 times, only allowed 4 completions, so that's cool, but he did give up about 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, I don't think it's as bad as it looked. Both touchdowns were short. One, he was in cover three. The other one, he was in coverage for like 8 seconds. Like, what's he supposed to do? So I don't think his game was that bad, but you can't really say it was good. He also gave up the pseudo deep shot to Jamar Chase. So there were some issues. There were some things he gave up, but he's going up against Jamar Chase for a lot of that game. How mad are you going to be about giving up stuff to pretty much undoubtedly a top 3 wide receiver in this game right now? So QB rating spiked all the way up to 118 almost, but I'm not overall down on it. Also, I'm really not down on, although I don't think anybody's down on this guy, Devon Witherspoon. He gets targeted 7 times and gives up 5 catches, but it only goes for 18 yards. That's pretty incredible. I know he's playing in the slot a lot right now, and I know that slot receivers are going to give up fewer yards per completion, but his work in this game was phenomenal. And I think pretty much everybody's on board now. I'm not hearing anything about Jalen Carter. I'm not hearing anything about Tyree Wilson. I'm not seeing those comments anymore. And that's because Witherspoon has shut everybody up because he's played so almost impossibly well. How is this guy playing this good as a rookie who missed the whole offseason? It's unthinkable. His QB rating allowed is sub 75, and he gave up a touchdown on a flea flicker. He gave up a touchdown in his first ever NFL game on a flea flicker. He gave up another touchdown, theoretically, in garbage time against the Panthers, and his QB rating allowed is sub 75. Absolutely sick, absolutely awesome stuff he's doing. And as of right now, like this guy's on an all-pro arc right now. This guy is on a path to make all-pro as a rookie. That doesn't happen often, but that's the path he's on. Point blank, period. 18 yards on 8 targets is insane against this Bengals team. Mike Jackson did play a little bit in this game, but he did not get targeted, so his number stayed the same. Trey Brown was awesome in this game, as we've already talked about, but to put numbers on it, he was targeted 3 times, and he did not allow any catches because this edit history's from last month. 3 targets, 0 catches allowed, 1 pick. He had it wasn't a pass breakup, but it was a forced incompletion on the most important play of the game on defense where we were trying to get the ball back to the offense. So he's pretty bulletproof right now. His QB rating allowed is sub 69, and he is part of this superstar secondary that we built. I think we can now officially say that he's clearly part of the circle of trust. It's not just this one game. He's played well in several games now this year. And this trifecta of corners that we found with Woolen, Witherspoon, and Brown has been an absolute revelation. And it's starting to feel like we may have actually found that ideal trifecta that allows us to not have any real weaknesses at the corner spot. No other corners played. Kobe Bryant was hurt. Artie Burns was hurt. So nothing new on that front. And look, you're playing this receiver core and you're giving up less than 70 yards in coverage with your corners. Yeah. So that just leaves us with safety. And Jamal Adams is off to a good start this year in coverage. He did get targeted a few times in this game. It was 5 targets. They hit 3 completions on him, but only got a total of 8 yards on those plays. So a lot of pretty harmless checkdowns. Amusingly enough, despite giving up 4 completions so far this year, he has allowed -1 air yards on those completions. So everything's just around and behind the line of scrimmage. And Adams is doing a really good job coming up and making the tackle and keeping these plays to no real effect. So 6 targets, his QB rating allowed is about 70.1. That's, I mean, it's obviously a small sample size, but it's a lot closer to what he was doing as a Jet compared to what he was doing with the Seahawks in 2020 and 2021. So we're taking steps in the right direction here. Let's call it that. So yeah, Jamal Adams, strong in coverage. Also strong in coverage overall has been Quandre Diggs, although he did give up some stuff in this game. They docked him with 35 of the passing yards that the Bengals had on a few completions. So there was a little bit of stuff going on Quandre Diggs' head. And I've said this before. I want to be clear about this. I do think that PFR has been kind of nice to Diggs with these coverage numbers. I think there are some plays that are not they're not on him, but he makes a mistake that allows the play to happen. He doesn't get clean up over the top. And while the completion is not on him, he made a mistake that allowed it to happen. I still think that's happening, but nevertheless, he's starting to smooth out anyway. So, Quandre Diggs, I thought he played pretty well against the Bengals, maybe other than the interception that he had against the Giants, which was in garbage time anyway. You could say that was his best game of the year in terms of making a meaningful impact. Julian Love did not play a ton in this game because we had all of our secondary guys. He did get targeted twice, and he gave up 2 completions. Not a ton of yardage, just 23 yards. Not anything terrible. Obviously, he's got a lot of work to do to make up for how badly he started the season. About 128 QB rating allowed. And that's it. That's everything. So, very little to critique, honestly. Like, Woolen gave up about 50 yards. Diggs gave up 35 yards. Everything else was really harmless at worst. Like, at best, it was actually actively good for us, but none of this stuff is really all that concerning, right? So, yeah, pass coverage Thursday this week was a big time success. There's a lot of stuff to be really happy about. And if they can keep up this level of play against weaker opponents that are coming, like worse receivers across the board on this schedule, it's going to be great. See you guys later.